This thing on?
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
We will call to order the meeting, regular meeting of the Solid Waste Authority. If we would please, I'd like to ask Mr. Gray to have the invocation.
Join me in prayer, please. Heavenly Father, we ask for your guidance as through our deliberations tonight. And we also ask that you give us a thankful heart for all the blessings that all of us have. In your name we ask it. Amen.
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 Mr. Priest, I'd ask you to lead the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, brother. If we could please, we just need to have the agenda approved.
Second.
Have a motion second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We'll approve the agenda. Also, the minutes for the last meeting, October 22nd.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? We'll approve the minutes from the October 22nd meeting. We have no requests for public input tonight. We'll go directly into the departmental reports, recycling, corporate affairs. Ms. Murphy.
Good evening.
Hello.
Good evening.
I'm going to begin with a review of our attendance at the Recycling and Solid Waste Professionals Conference that was held in Columbia last month. Myself, Mr. Besson, and Ms. Kendra Hooks attended this conference. It was the 7th annual conference that they held, and it's a conference that focuses primarily on professionals in our field in the state of South Carolina. This year's conference was very informative. We did receive a variety of updates on glass recycling, carpet recycling, plastics, electronics. We heard presentations on private and publicly run MRFs, as well as received a very good review from several electronic vendors regarding the services that they offer. The conference concluded with some DHEC updates on some outstanding regulations that they are in the process of trying to conclude in the writing of, as well as a report from the newly formed Recycling Coalition of South Carolina. Good conference. Y'all should try to attend one year. The next update I want to give you is on the Recycling Center of the Quarter. This is a program that we started back in December of 2012. This would be the 4th that we've announced. And for the quarter ending September 30th, the Brooksville Recycling Center was chosen as Recycling Center of the Quarter. Mr. Andrew Lee is the full-time site attendant there, and he's the one pictured in your board packet as well as on the screen. He's doing an excellent job there in maintaining that center in an excellent fashion. Just for your knowledge, Brooksville Recycling Center opened in 1998, and prior to that, it was one of those wonderful unmanned dumpster sites. America's Recycles Day was on November the 15th, and this year we did something a little bit differently. We usually would go out to a business and promote recycling at that business and speak to those people that would be visiting at that particular location. This year, Mr. Cannon, Mrs. Hooks, Ms. Cecil Terry, and Rusty Euler and I went out visiting each of the 24 recycling centers. We did this over the course of about 3 days. We visited each center for about an hour, and we talked to whomever we saw recycling at the center, gave them a little recycled gift, and entered them into a contest to win a $25 Walmart gift card, which most took advantage of. Not everybody, but most did. We had the pleasure of speaking to about 150 customers during that 3-day stint. And we got to hear, as usual, you'll hear some things that you probably could have did without, but we did hear some very favorable comments about the centers and the programs that are offered. At the same time, WNBF TV 10, who is our Talking Trash partners this year, asked if they can also run a texting and online contest for people to just register for a gift card that they were given. And they received over 1,000 hits through that contest. So both were very successful, and it's probably something we'll wind up doing again. The last, or next to last item I want to report on is our pop art contest. We've been doing the pop art contest, for about 8 or 9 years now. Is that right? I'd use dog years. That's all I can say. 6 years. Thank you, Kendra. And this year, our item to be recycled, we always use something that would normally be thrown away. This year, we used plastic bags that you would get from any of your retail stores. And we received 68 entries, which is a tremendous amount. We've not received that many before. Some of the entries are here in the room, over in this back corner. I will say the wolf that's on the table, I did not see come into the building. I did not see it until I was leaving the building that night and the room was dark, and it scared me. I was impressed. I was very impressed. But our winning entry was, we called it the Give a Hoot, Don't Pollute entry, which is over by the South Carolina flag at the front of the room. That was put together by Miss Caitlin Barnhill. She's an 8th grader at Aner Middle School. And we were just very much enticed with the amount of work she put into it. You look at some of the bags, you say, oh, that one's from Walmart, oh, that one's from this place. But some of them, I didn't even know where they were from, and I'm a pretty good shopper. So she put some good work, definite work in it. She even said there were a couple of times when she was just so tired, she was just going to give up and not do it. So she was very surprised when we showed up to present her with her reading device, electronic reading device, and her prize pack from the Solid Waste Authority. Caitlin and her mother were planning on being here tonight, so I'm not sure if the weather, they are? Okay. If you would allow, when she gets here, I did want to give her the opportunity to address you if she wanted to. We also would like to present her with her plaque that she wasn't able to get that day. I didn't realize how old I was until she did the Give a Hoot, Don't Pollute as her entry. A lot of people didn't realize that was something that was originated back in the 70s through the EPA and their litter program. Any of y'all remember? We're going to see how well y'all remember in a minute. Okay. But when she comes, if you don't mind, I would love to be able to give her an opportunity to just come up and speak to you if she can. One last thing before I go, okay, maybe it's 2. Just to let you know, this Thursday, Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving in advance. All recycling centers will be closed on Thanksgiving Day, but for the remainder of the week, we'll be operating on a regular schedule. So that's that. Now, as I return to my seat, I had one little video I want to show you.
I'm with ZL. In order to try and stop pollution, we need more help. So, help would ye spread the word? Come on, never be a dirty bird. No matter where you go, you can let some people know to give a hoot, don't pollute. Never be a dirty bird. In the city or in the woods, help keep America looking good.
And what year was that from, Ms. Murphy?
1977.
77. Very nice.
Still true today.
Any questions for Ms. Murphy? Thank you for your report. I'd like to welcome our chairman who came in. He's been under the weather. We didn't think he was going to be here. If you feel well enough to preside, I will defer. All right. Operations and planning, Bill.
Good evening. My report begins on page 12, I think it is tonight. Operations update, the saddle area, making some good progress out there. They finished the 24-inch clay liner. All testing was done, met specifications out there. And they've also installed the 24-inch protective soil liner on top of that. You probably see, if you're going back there, I'll show you a couple pictures in just a couple minutes. But about 80% of that is done, the closure of the saddle area, and they've also begun working on the road out there. Project is on schedule. It's scheduled to be completed by February 26th of 2014. So they got about 3 months left, December, January, February. So their plan is to be done by January 26th and have 30 days for a punch list out there. So February 26th is the end of it. There's the saddle area closure. It's become a good home to the seagulls out there. You can see them. That's not snow or hail out there from the storm, but that's just a few different directions. That's over on the backside of C&D, looking at it right there. We still have the little access road over to your left. That'll be done once Phase 1 access road is complete. They'll come back and do that at the end. But King has done a good job out there. So again, if you do ride back there, you'll see probably 3,000 or 4,000 seagulls. They stand out really well. The access road for Phase 1 piggyback, they're working on that, hauling in a lot of soil materials. They still have a tremendous amount to haul in. It will take them the best part of the next 60 days.
Bill, are the seagulls anything other than a nuisance? Do they cause any problems?
No, they just hang out there.
Yeah, I mean,
They just. Seagulls kind of work, we were mentioned this morning, they work in shifts on solid waste, and there's 3 or 4 shifts of them and one will go over there and eat a while, they'll get full, they'll leave, and then another group will come on in there. So somehow they've got that communication with each other. Okay, time to go, and the next one come in. But you can see where they're working on the piggyback access road right here, down there near the pond between C&D and solid waste. That area, that lower area right there, they still have got to get all that filled in. So you can see it's still a tremendous amount of soil that needs to be brought in.
Bill, where does that material, you got clay material and then you got regular fill material?
That's coming in down there. He's got a couple pits. One of them is Ashley Anderson's down there off of Old Highway 90.
Tilly Swamp.
Where?
Tilly Swamp.
Okay. Well, it's not too far away, but it's on regular 10-wheel trucks.
Right. Blue Max is doing all their hauling.
Yeah, they have good equipment.
Yeah, Blue Max has hauled some material for us in the past, and just observation-wise, they're really safe.
Yeah.
You know, there's not been any problems with them. We've been well pleased with the performance of Blue Max. King's overseeing them, but King's done good stuff so far for us.
Is that clay, that orange clay like on a baseball field?
Yeah, like Georgia red clay almost, you know, and then we've got that dark 24-inch protective layer on top of it. So everything has met specifications. So we're not ready to start putting, C&D in there yet. That's down the road, but having it ready, it's all set to go.
Thank you.
Our driver of the month is Mike Bufa from Unlimited Sanitation. His picture and the letter to Unlimited is in your board book right there. Committee recognized him. As you can see, most of them that we get, they seem very proud to have their picture taken. And we do put the picture up in the scale house up there for 30 days. So when all the drivers come in from all the haulers, they get to see it out there. And then the end of the year, in January, we'll put the collage up there of all 12 of them for the year 2013. So we'll leave that up for a couple months so they'll get to see their picture again. Our HHW collection update, we put bids out in October. We received 3 bids back in. MXI was awarded the collection pretty much for paints and chemicals out there. We've had MXI in the past. Excellent customer service. We were well pleased that they got the bid. They're out of Virginia, but when they come in well equipped with their materials, their people. They get it, and we were well pleased. They were low bid on that. Something new we're doing, Battery Solutions was the lowest responsive bidder for our battery pickup. And we've been paying about $1 a pound for batteries to go out of here. And with with Battery Solutions, we're looking to save about 50% on our battery disposal. So we got to do a couple little extra things. Your little watch batteries all have to be taped. Stephanie and her staff have been working hard to keep all those. You lay them out, it almost looks like those little candy dots that you used to get when you was a kid, but it's actually little watch batteries up there. So anyway, we're looking forward to working with them. We've got scheduled pickups for both the chemicals and the batteries within the next couple weeks. So once we get that done, we'll report back probably in January, since the December board meeting's coming up quick. We'll report in January what kind of poundage we had on that. So looking forward to working with both of those, but MXI we've had, and they have just been tremendous out there. Their customer service is just, it's out of this world how good they treat us as a customer, so we appreciate that.
Is that the deal that costs about $100,000 a year?
Mr.
Yes,
Gray.
sir.
Mr. Gray, you'll speak into your microphone. Esther can't pick anything up, sorry.
Sorry, that's $100,000 a year or so.
And that's just on the disposal of what we take in. That doesn't include any labor that we have out there, materials such as the boxes and barrels that we have to buy.
Thank
So, and last thing we have there is relocation of the grinding area to Track D. We had 5 bids turned in on November 6th. You can see in your board book right there that Southern Asphalt was the low bid for $460,000. We've done a thorough review. Southern Asphalt was the lowest bidder out there. They did, everything submitted by them met all the contract document specifications. Their 3 references were contacted. All 3 were positive. So our recommendation is to award the contract to Southern Asphalt to relocate the grinding area back there to Track D.
Great. Any questions for Mr. Hilling?
That's the other Godwin.
That's Donald Godwin.
Southern Asphalt.
Southern Asphalt is Donald Godwin.
And Palmetto's
Sean.
Sean Godwin and Marshall. You thinking about Marshall?
Marshall.
Right.
Unlimited sanitation Godwin, yeah. Well, they do good work. They all do good work.
Mr. Hilling, we're glad to see you back after your hospitalization. Hope you're feeling better.
Thank you.
Good.
Appreciate
Thank you for your report.
Glad to be back.
I think we've seen Ms. Barnhill come in. We thank y'all for being here. I know the weather's not very good, but we wanted to recognize your effort. Kendra.
This is Miss Caitlin Barnhill. She is a student at Standard Middle School, so we're really happy that she's here tonight.
And we're going to present you with an award, your plaque, since you've already got the fun stuff. But this is the 2013 Pop Art Award. We recognize you for the Give a Hoot, Don't Pollute. And before you got here, Miss Esther played the commercial from way back in the day. So we all got to reminisce a little bit. But thank you so much for your wonderful artwork.
Yeah.
Tell us what inspires your art. Either your mom made you do it, or
Mom made her stick to it.
My sister's room is done in owls, and my sister's room is done in owls, and that's why I done the owl. And my mama helped me do it, and we recycle at our house, and so that's how I came up with the plastic bags. Plastic bags. And my mama helped me do it. I wanted to quit on it because it was really hard, but my mama, she didn't make me. So.
Well, you did a terrific job.
Yes, you
Thank
did.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
And we thank Mom, too, for,
Mama said, if you start it, you gotta finish it.
Amen.
it's a good philosophy.
Well, she did a great job, I'm telling you.
I tell her, win or lose, it don't matter, pass or fail, we're gonna finish.
Thank you for doing that, and congratulations. And thank you for being here tonight.
Well, we thank you for the news, she's enjoyed it a lot.
Good.
She's been downloading books on it, she already had 2 books on it since she got it.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. We'll move on to finance and administration. I think Ms. Crump is not here. Ms. Chan gonna, thank you, good night.
Okay, Cecil, I'll hit this. Oh, there we go. All right, the financial reports begin on page 20. But if you'll take a look, I'm going to start on page 23 on the income statement. For the month, the current month, you can see the net income of $44,689. Means our revenues were over expenses by that much for the month. And the year-to-date, revenues are over expenses by $701,726,000. As you can see, our revenue right now is at 33% of budget, which is right where we need to be 4 months into the year. And our expenses are at 29% of budget. So we are keeping our expenses below budget, which is good. And like I said, our revenue is staying right on budget. I was going to point out just a couple things. The tipping fees, as you can see, right now are running about 37, almost 38% of budget, which is good. They're a little bit above where they need to be for 4 months. And our recyclable sales are at almost 32%. So they're running just a little bit below budget. Over on page 27, I was going to just have you take a look at the tonnage that's come in compared to last year. As you can see, our solid waste, yard waste, and mixed construction are all running above where they were this time last year. So luckily, our tonnage is staying up above where it needs to be. So that's helping. On page 28, on the C&D recycling report, I just wanted to point out that, again, Bill had a really good month over there at the C&D facility. They took in 1,264 tons over there. So they can keep growing and sending more tonnage over to that facility, which is really good. The last thing I kind of wanted to point out were the graphs on page 32 and 33. The solid waste graph, as you can see, is continuing to trend right along previous years, which is good. We prefer, of course, for it to be up, but at least it is staying along the same trend. As you can see, mixed construction this month jumped up. When talking this morning with Wayne, he said the city of Conway had been bringing in a lot of material this month. I guess they've been tearing down some houses that had been from Floyd, I think, from the flood, and they're just now getting around to tearing a lot of it down, so they're bringing in a lot of C&D materials. That's probably what's caused some of that to be up this month.
The old hospital.
The old hospital, that's true. I didn't think about that going down as well. Thank you, John. That's all I have. Anybody have any questions? All right,
Thank you for your
thank you.
Special projects and governmental affairs, Mr. Bessent.
If I can mess this thing up. Which one do you match? You got it? Okay. That's better. I won't mess it up that way. Thing gets short. I don't know I'm short. On page 38 is where it starts at. Lee Disposal. Their monthly income tonnage coming in is about 737 tons. They recycled about 664 tons of it. Most of that being incentive tons to the landfill was 211, and they've received $1,057 for a incentive reduction. Most of that 90% was concrete. So on their year-to-date numbers, you can see that about 3,500 tons they brought in with 1,200 tons of concrete, 2,300 tons of recycling, and without concrete, they have 43.78% recycling rate, and they've received $4,278 year-to-date. Trying to get used to this iPad. Easy Dump is at 761 tons with 593 tons recycled. That makes them at 55%. They've received no incentive tonnages and no reduction. They're still not in the program because they've not met. However, this month they did meet. They did get 75% of what they took in was. It was real close to being to 75%, but it's been reduced because of the some of the waste stream that they brought in. So the Easy Dump year to date, they're at about 3,700 tons with 796 tons. They're at 1,557 tons of recycling, 760 tons of that being concrete, most of it being concrete. With these facilities, as it always is, without concrete, they can't meet the 75% goal. So they have to recycle that concrete or at least bring it through their facility. And he's received none to date. Next month, I'll be bringing y'all I'll look at what he's done for the evaluation period of DHEC, which is from January through December. I'll give you all that number next on the 12th to be able to tell you what they've done during that period as it relates to what DHEC looks at.
You detect that he's trying to,
He's bringing more concrete in. He's taking in more concrete at his facility than he was before, so therefore his numbers are coming up. But his overall numbers for the 12 months, he's only got 2 months left. I don't know that he'll be able to meet the 75% state goal. Not our goal, but the state goal.
or he's moving in the right direction. His reach is not, his arms aren't long enough.
Yes, sir. The MSW recycling incentive program that we have in effect has been about almost $89,000 given back incentive to haulers. And the C&D recycling incentive at the factory, we've issued back about a little, almost $23,000 in incentives back to haulers there. And of course, the $4,278 that Lee Disposal has received this year on incentive, with a total outgoing back to the customers of about $116,000 that we give back to them since July 1 in incentives for recycling. Legislative update. Any questions on that before I move forward? Okay. Legislative update. As we're all aware, the county has took up at their last committee an amendment to the flow control ordinance, which removes the C&D out of the ordinance. That was recommended by the I&R committee and is moving to council, which will be on the 10th for first reading on the 10th meeting on December the 10th. That'll be the first reading if it's taken up. It is. I hadn't seen the agenda for that meeting yet, but it's typically after it comes out of the committees, it goes on the next council agenda. The League of Cities has asked us to speak to them on December the 5th, and that meeting's at 6 o'clock at the Atlantic Beach Community Center. So we'll be there to try to present to them what the flow control ordinance is taking on statewide and locally, and any issues that we see to be brought up there. They've asked us to come talk to them.
Who's chairman now, Mike?
Marilyn Hatley.
Okay.
Also, the admin committee is taking up on December the 6th at 9 o'clock to talk about the effects of changing the ordinance. That's at the admin committee with the county. So those two meetings are going to be, we got the one on the 6th with the League of Cities, the 5th with the League of Cities, the 6th with the administration committee, and then the 10th will be the council meeting. It's all related to the flow control ordinance. Also, we've talked to the Association of Counties this week, and they're getting good feedback from their Don't Dump on South Carolina campaign. They're getting a lot of feedback from the representatives and people throughout the state. That is working well and is moving forward. So they feel that the program's going to be real successful and make an impact on the flow control as it relates to next year at the Capitol. But they have a lot of people that signed up with that thing and joined on. There was TV4 out of Greenville did a news investigation into it, and that was a good article that came out of there. They had asked the head of the House Republican representative, he said he probably wouldn't vote for it again if he had to do it again. So I think it's having a big impact, and they're realizing it not only meets, he said when he was first brought to him that it was about Horry County. It wasn't about the rest of the counties in the state, and as this thing's moved on and people's learned more about it, it's become more dealing with statewide issue, and they didn't realize the impacts that it would have had statewide. So that was a pretty good investigative article by the TV4 station, so I thought that was pretty good. Any questions?
Yeah, as I understand it, Mike, last legislative session was the first year of a two-year session.
First year of a two-year session, that's correct.
And so wherever things were in terms of moving through the House and moving through the Senate, they just take it, or do they just take it up wherever they left it off? In other words, you don't start again. For instance, the House has already done its work, and that bill is passed on, and then it went to Senate place, shelf or dock or something, and is that where it will take up in,
Well, H 3290 is in the Senate, and it's on a minority report, and it has to be called up for special order in order to get on the agenda, or it could be pulled up by the Rules Committee, and they could use one of their slots to get it up on the floor for discussion, or it's down the line until it all gets done. However, there is an electronics bill in the House that Representative Hardwick stuck an amendment on it to tie flow control up to it, and that bill will be taken up immediately in the House. If that bill is taken up in the House and is found to be germane with that bill, there's been somebody objected to it saying it was not germane to the electronics bill. If they find it germane to the bill, it will be taken up, to be approved, and if it's approved by the House, it would go to conference committee with the Senate, and the flow control could be enacted through the electronics bill.
okay?
Mr. Jones?
Yes, and, excuse me, in a conversation with Senator Hembry this week, understanding it's politics, so there are no guarantees, he was asked at a committee meeting how he felt about flow control for the upcoming year. And he replied that he felt good about it as far as the Senate was concerned, that he did not believe they had the strength to get it through the Senate this year. He also mentioned that in this same meeting, one of the senators said, I know where I stand, said, my wife came in there the other day and woke me up and told me I had best not vote for anything that'll bring waste to South Carolina. And another senator spoke up and said, well, it's working because my wife told me the same thing. So Senator Hembry feels reasonably comfortable right now. He is definitely on our side. And what Mike was saying, the advertisement is having an effect.
Mike, do you think that Republican Waste Management on that side are sensing the same thing that we're talking about here, and they're ready to wave the white flag? And
I don't, because they've been meeting with the municipal associations. I've had some calls from the municipal associations. They've been meeting with them. The South Carolina Chamber of Commerce is coming out with a campaign for the flow control ordinance. So they are definitely working. I've got calls from the upstate about it, and what's been going on at the South Carolina Association, South Carolina Chamber, and also I talked personally with the lobbyists from the municipal association. Where they had been talked to by
so they
two
haven't
Waste
give up yet?
I don't see they'll ever give up. It's a national issue. They don't want it to be anywhere.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Besson? Creech?
I'm assuming you're going to be at the admin meeting and you're going to be speaking at the League of Cities?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I think at both of those meetings, they need to know what this is going to do as far as the monies that is collected, what will be spent, and the effect that it will have on them and the taxpayer. And I think they need to be aware of all that information.
I think Mr. Campbell said that that was what the mayor was wanting me to do, is make sure to be prepared to tell them what the impacts of the flow control ordinance would have if it was amended.
You might want to have that in writing so that they can keep it and look at it.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Creech. Any other questions, comments? Thank you, Mr. Besson. Executive Director report, Mr. Knight.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first issue we have was talking about the Berkeley County landfill visit that we went on, and they are closing out their landfill. This material. DHEC has approved for them to utilize this as closure, but they're not going to close their landfill out within the next 10 years to see how this product performs over the years. I think it has a lot of possibilities, but I think it's kind of early for us to attempt to use that on the 33 acres that we're getting ready to close out. Looks good from a distance, but
You don't have to mow that as often, do you?
no, you don't. No, you don't.
Looks mighty cheap and flimsy to me.
Yeah. And we toured the plant in Georgetown County that makes this stuff and makes the liners, and I was very impressed with that operation and it being from Georgetown County. It was impressive, but I think for the next, these 33 acres that we're looking at closing out, I think we'll stick with the old-fashioned way. This actually saves, the biggest thing with this, it saves a lot of dirt and a lot of trucks on the road. But, with DHEC's position, and I think we'll stick with the old-fashioned way. Mr. Campbell, you was on the trip.
I agree with that. DHEC is not completely sold on it. It's more like,
Speak to your microphone, Mr. Chairman.
yeah, it's more like, they taken a look at it too. They have approved this first installation, but they're not completely sold on the product. And until they are, I don't think we need to do anything or make any moves until DHEC has completed their study and makes their recommendations on it. But it does look good now, I'm telling you.
Okay, the next issue is the project we were working with Myrtle Beach and their planning commission down there. And we spent months and days and hours, and when the planning commission presented to the council, they gave us 5 minutes. And I was somewhat disappointed in that, even though the city staff has done a lot. We put the pilot program in place with DHEC. They did a pilot program on their beach where they put more cans out, so I think some stuff came out of it was good, but I was rather disappointed in the reception we got. Hey, some other items I would like to bring up. Steve Gosnell's father passed away, and keep him in mind and in your prayers. We don't know what when the services were going to be, but I'm sure some of us will go to that in Spartanburg. We got the IRS answer back on our question, which was very positive. We don't have to do the 990, and we are what they said we were earlier, and I will have that information in the packet for the next board meeting.
Did we not check with some other agencies about how they were handling that 990?
That's right.
And they responded to us. I think what we need to do, we need to share with them our success and how we went about it. Be a good neighbor or a good team member, but share what information we got with them.
Okay. We will make that. We will put that on the agenda next meeting, where everybody will have a copy of it. In the minutes we approved tonight, I stated in that meeting that the county was not going ahead with anything with flow control till we got an opinion back from Richmond. And I guess y'all know by now that wasn't quite right. So I just, and I think some other people were under the understanding that we were gonna wait till we got that decision back. So I wanted to make sure I brought that to your attention. And
Was that an original agreement to meet, for them to wait until that time?
well, we thought it was.
We thought it was.
We thought that we were gonna wait till, and we don't know exactly when that will come down, but we felt like by the first of the year that it would be, but, apparently they've gone ahead, and we'll try to keep up with it.
Okay. Any idea what the impact of that response, whether positive or negative, is gonna have on the county?
We don't know, unless that Maruth would venture a guess.
It's really hard to say. You know, I doubt the courts up there in Richmond, I don't know that it would impact their legal reasoning. If that's what I understand the question to be. You never know, though.
And give you.
Excuse me, did I understand you to say that if council carves out C and D, you don't think that will have any impact on the standing of our case in Richmond? Is that what I understand you to say?
That was not what I said. I said I don't think that the court is making a decision on the record before it. So,
Not on what we
not
do.
on what
You don't think
is being,
Richmond's decision is gonna affect the county's decision, is what you're saying?
No, I don't think anything's gonna affect what the county's gonna do. I think they've got their mind made up
Just that headstrong to go
where they
forward.
gonna go. It doesn't matter what anything else said. I think the biggest problem we foresaw, that if they ruled against us in Richmond and we ended back up in Florence in court, then these actions, I think, from my standpoint, would have a bearing on that court when you go back over there and kind of start all over.
So in essence, what you're saying, what the county's doing now, if Richmond sends us back to Florence, what the county's doing now could actually cause us to lose in Florence as well.
I think it would hurt
Okay.
to you.
yeah, I mean, the case has not been tried. It was thrown out on summary judgment. So if it goes back to Florence, it's a new ballgame, you know. You could still have a trial date. You could have additional discovery evidence.
Is the county aware of all of that?
Yes, sir. Next point, I think I have, most of you know that I'm going to, December the 6th, I'm going to have some knee surgery done. I'll be home for Christmas, some shape, form, or fashion, and my intention is to be back on the job. My birthday is January the 21st, so I'm coming back with Susie's gonna have me a birthday cake. So I'm looking forward to it.
We've signed you up for the Myrtle Beach Marathon, so just be prepared in February.
Anything for John Rhodes, I'm willing.
We wish you luck with that. I hope things will go well.
I think it
feel
will.
better.
I think so. I think it will. And that's all I have.
Any questions for the director? If not, we'll move into committee reports. Diversion Program Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We did have a meeting after our trip to Walterboro, and it was basically a question and answer meeting. There was not a lot of, they didn't bring a lot of information. It was questions from board members and staff here. The end result of it, if you've read your notes, you know what we talked about, but your minutes, I mean. But the end result was they're continuing to work with staff. We're a long way from consummating anything, but it's the best looking thing that I have looked at in the 9.5 years I've been here. It's come closer to being a reality than anything else has. Big money involved on both sides, long way to go. They're not a hard crowd to work with, but they're looking to a partnership, and that's one, excuse me, that's one of the questions I asked to define that, but, I'm not sure it'll be an equal partnership, but they're looking at partnership. I'll be glad to try to answer Mr. Knightwell any questions about it, but it was a question and answer thing about our trip and where we want to go, and we basically turned it back over to staff to continue to work with them.
I agree that it looks very encouraging. I do think there's a lot of homework left to be done and research, and but once I think we're moving in the right direction, and at least doing the fact finding and finding out what exactly is involved.
Lot of due diligence, but
Right.
one of the true blessings I see after we've been as far as California, to have something, the best thing to come along, come this close to home, come from this close to home is really a huge benefit, I think, to us versus it being in California or Kentucky or some of the other places we've been.
Good. Any questions for Mr. Jones? Mr. Knight?
I too agree with Mr. Jones that, it's kind of a magic box with possibilities. And give you, we've sat back down with them and talked with them again, and they've given us some figures on what they think, a payback to us would be. And we're looking at our, cost of operation, what we would have left to operate. I mean, we'll still have to have a landfill, we'll still do C&D and yard waste and those type things. But I'd like for you to think about the possibility, we've got, some money in this diversion fund, and I would recommend that we hire a third party to take a look at the whole program, what they're offering, what they're bringing to the table, what we are left to do, and I think we can probably get someone to come in and do that for us. And then if there's any questions about the decision, then we've got an outside third party that's not connected with anybody to help us along.
Would you put that out on bids, and
Yeah.
do you have any idea what it?
We're gonna do some investigation, get some ideas, but it will go to the street, for an RFQ probably for qualifications. And, I've got a copy of one that they did in Texas that probably cost $100,000 and 3 inches deep. But they looked at all the possibilities, gasification, waste energy, and all those type things. And you're not gonna have to do that here. Basically, they're gonna be looking at our cost of operations, what they're gonna offer back, and if in fact we can do it for what's brought back to the table.
What kind of time frame are you looking at? How quickly do you think this needs to be done?
I think we need to probably go ahead and get it drafted up and get it out by the first of the year.
When did they say that they were gonna come back with a proposal? Or maybe,
We've got a start of a proposal with them now.
right,
But I don't, right this minute, I don't think we can make our program work with what they've offered.
just from you and Mike taking a look at what
Yeah.
they brought back to the table
But-
so far.
But, finance is working on those figures now. We'll have a better idea in a couple of weeks on what those figures are, because we know what each cost center's costing, pretty much. But we really don't know. It'll be a guess on how many people or how much material they are going to have to bring to our landfill. They say they can take, recycle 70%. I don't know.
Well, I said up front, this wasn't gonna be an equal partnership.
Well,
They call it a partnership, but it doesn't,
it's
I don't
gonna be
believe
a-
you can have many partners like that.
Well, we're gonna be equal as much as we can, I'm guaranteeing you that.
It's got to be a win-win for all.
Do you need a motion for that? I think we've given you that when we told you to meet with them. That's, in my mind,
Yeah.
that's a part of the due diligence that you would have to do to bring an answer back to this board to give us enough information.
And we
to
will
vote on.
certainly bring the cost back to you.
Surely.
And if it's, if everybody feels good with that, and the company,
Right.
probably first priority that we see and what we get back, then we'll vote on it then.
I think he has enough authority to do that now unless someone sees a problem with it.
I just have a couple of questions. I believe when Northlead asked you, this third-party consulting firm, it would not be a bid-type situation. You would contract solely with someone that you feel pre-qualified?
We would take qualification from a number of companies. And then we would see what they've done. If they've done a program like this, where they're from, and cost will be a factor. I mean, we won't say the low bid's the best bid, but we'll have an idea of the cost from each company.
We're looking for just a request for a proposal is what we're gonna be doing, and see what they come back with, and let them furnish all the information that they've got. And we'll just.
And then
Sure.
we'll recommend one, and that we think that can do that job. And I'd feel better if we're getting into a 10-year to a 20-year contract with a set amount of money that we've looked at it with a lot of different eyes.
Well, I don't, no disrespect to you or staff here, I don't think anybody here has the ability to make that decision or has enough information to make that decision yet.
And
I don't see how we can do it without a third party.
But a third party certainly gonna, county council and the public, they'll certainly look more favorable on it if we got a third party involved.
But going back to the selection process, there'll be an open market, for lack of a better term, for requests for qualification. And you might receive 6 or 16.
That's right.
And you try to grade them. But at some point in time, you start narrowing it down and start negotiating directly with one that you feel is most qualified in relation to what they think they're gonna have to charge us.
Or negotiate with the top 3. Talk to each one of those. Then may bring them back for the diversion group to talk with, get a good feeling from, and we'll make a recommendation to the board.
Being a proposal, we can sit down and negotiate. If it was a bid, you're looking at low dollar, but being a proposal, we can sit down and negotiate with.
Ms. Creech, do you have a question?
Well, I had several comments, and I'm not sure it's a question, but several comments. There's a lot about their proposal. When I was here at the meetings and listened to them, there were several things that I don't care for in a partnership. When someone tells me there might be a problem, but they want me to go along with them with that and defend them and this, that, and the other. When you talk about solid waste, I'm not personally going to be willing to go along with something that might not be what the community would want and to get on that bandwagon. So a dirty MRF, which is what they would have to have, has a lot more problems than we do today. It also magnifies the problems that the public has had, which is the smell and other problems that come with that. If they're talking about having to bring trash in, they're going to be putting more trucks on the road. When you've had your citizens' meetings, those were 2 of the problems they had a problem with, was the smell, the extra trucks, the extra trash that would come from that. And if we get into a partnership and start leasing them here, then that gives them a private status, which would actually at some point allow them to bring in trash from other states and that kind of thing. So to me, they have some serious problems to me. And I've been in the research business in years past, and we did contracts to tell people efficiency and what went on and so forth. Those contracts are very expensive. I wouldn't be willing to vote to do that until we were satisfied that that might be something we wanted and that the public wanted. And I really don't think that that may be the case with all the problems that I have read and researched and listened to at this point. Thank you.
And I think part of the reason for an independent third party is to somebody come in that doesn't have a dog in the game and kind of, that we could research and make sure that we were fully informed before, because I share your concerns about being placed in a position to vote on something that I don't have enough information about yet. So I think there's, as we said, still a lot of due diligence to be done, but at least there's some positives going forward and worth exploring a little further. Mr. Graves, you have something further?
I would like to say, to counterbalance what you correctly were speaking of, Pam, if they come to 70% or even 50%, keeping it out of our landfill, then, we may have odor problems or leachate problems over there that would be minimized or reduced. And we certainly lengthen the life of our landfill if, in fact, we can recycle 50 to 70% of what would otherwise go over there. Sometimes life is not, you don't have a set of perfect solutions, you have a set of solutions, and each one has good points and bad points. But I take your point. I understand what you were saying. And they probably will or may. We already know that they're going to be bringing waste in from other counties, but we're doing that now. On the recyclables part. Whether or not, you think they would ever go across state line?
I don't think they'll be able to bring garbage in at any time. I mean, we made that plain to everybody we've ever talked to, that talks about needing more tonnage than we have, and we tell them that's the fight downtown. We're not getting into that fight, and we don't foresee this group. They haven't mentioned that to us about bringing garbage in. Now, recyclables in is a different thing, and we even took that to county council to make sure that they looked at those recycled materials as a commodity more than looking at it as a garbage, even though we got nailed at the Capitol that we were bringing garbage in, and that's what it was. It was recycled material. But I think we can run these things, our due diligence, go ahead and start putting the RFP stuff together kind of in parallel, and try to start getting these answers to the problems that the board members individually have, to where we can start getting information from this group based on that stuff. One thing we're going to have to do is go look at a dirty MRF. Mike saw one 10 years ago that was terrible, but a lot's happened in the business over the last 10 years. And this company is building one now in Birmingham, Alabama. The company they deal with on equipment has got one in Southern California. So it won't be hard to go look at one and get some ideas on, the way they got the air current set up now. They pull in fresh air through the doors, and the odor doesn't get out. It goes through bag houses and minimizes the odors. I've read. I haven't seen one. I hadn't smelt one lately. So, but we know we will have to answer a lot of questions, and we certainly want as much information as we've got to answer the communities and the council and everybody else. But things that they say they can do, that's the possibilities that we haven't seen before.
Mr. Chair, if I'm in order, I make a motion that we go ahead and grant staff the right to go ahead and get information they need on a third party to do the investigation for us.
A motion on the floor,
So move.
second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Any other questions, comments for Mr. Jones on his committee report? Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Operations Planning Committee? Mr. Campbell?
Yes, sir. We met, and Mr. Hilling came forth and presented his program, wants to replace some of the heavy equipment. The compactor, going to put off the purchase of a landfill compactor until a later date. And he is going to, wants to purchase a grinder, a used grinder. We approve that, and if you got any questions, Mr. Hilling will be pleased to answer the reasons behind this, but he presented them to us, and we recommend that the staff, that we approve the staff's
And this is
recommendation.
deferring the compactor until a later date,
That is
utilizing the funds that have been approved for
Right.
a grinder that's needed right now.
Right. The compactor was $800,000. Compactor's gonna be, used grinder's gonna be about $500,000. Is that correct, Bill? Yeah.
Okay, we've got a motion from the committee to accept staff's recommendation on this change, substitution on the, equipment.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion?
One question.
Yes, sir.
Mike, is this the same issues discussed at the INR meeting the other day?
Yes, sir, it was, because it's, our bylaws said anything that we buy on the capital that's more than $50,000 that's not budgeted for, we have to go in front of Wade County Council to get approval for it. Because we're replacing one piece of equipment with another one, it's such a fine area of whether or not that we should carry it to them, but just to make sure we didn't get beat up down the road, we took it to them to get county council approval. The committee did approve it, and it will be on council agenda on the 10th. And I don't see any issues with that on the 10th.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A motion, a second on the floor, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Anything further, Mr. Campbell?
That's fine.
Thank you
We
for your report.
Got it done.
Finance Administration Committee, we did meet on November the 20th. I chaired that committee. Basically, we got an update from staff on the proposed modification on the flow control ordinance, removing C&D and the potential savings that would need to be included in our budget, the cost savings. There was a plan put together by staff, and I applaud their efforts to make some savings based on unfilled positions rather than having to cut positions that are filled and terminate employees. So we did not take any action. It was basically just an update from staff about how we could overcome the potential loss in C&D revenue if in fact that did take place, which looks like that's moving forward. Any questions about the Finance Administration Committee meeting?
Let me say this. We take, Ms. Creech, we take this as being public document now. So I think it can be utilized in handouts, anything else. And I've talked to Ann Wright about it, that, you know, we've had this cut sheet for the last 4 years, but we've refined it now down to pretty much wherever dollars coming from. So I consider that a public document now.
Those actual amounts, are those amounts for the remainder of a year, or is that for an annual term? The notes, the amount in there that were listed in this report, I noticed were approximately $649,000. Is that just is that a year, or is that just for?
The problem is, I told some of the council, it'd be one thing to start this in the first of a budget year, but if it's approved in January, February, we got to come up with $66,000.
Exactly, okay. That's what I was trying to find out.
Yeah, so this document here is per month up through June, end of June. And then the budget next year, we'll know more about how to prepare it with the actual cuts instead of a cut sheet, a proposed cut
Okay,
sheet.
so the amounts in this was actually just for the remainder of this year, which is almost $650,000.
650 is total. What's the?
Is
what
that a total year or is that
349,000 through this year.
349 through this year?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
To the end of the budget.
Just need the clarity, that's all.
Any other questions? Okay, we don't have any old business on the agenda. Under new business, the digital production of board packets. I think Mr. Long had asked the question.
Yes, sir. I just wanted to see if we could get a definitive date that we could rely on the sending of the board packets to the individual board members through Dropbox, and just do away with the necessity of producing a hard copy with the file, with the folders, and also hand delivering them by the staff. I think that due to the fact that we now all have iPads, that we can utilize this and save a lot of money and time.
Ms. Creech?
I don't argue with that, but I don't have Wi-Fi at my house, so it wouldn't do me a whole lot of good.
And I'm gonna have to go back to school.
Can you not access Dropbox through your digital plan? Is
Got
me.
You
That
just
rates
a-
right
you
up
just
there
asked
with
the question,
Chinese
went straight over the
arithmetic.
head.
What digital plan do I have?
Yeah. What is the Dropbox?
You have cable? You have cable?
I thought that's where you left a suggestion on the wall, where you,
Yeah, I do have cable.
Yeah, I was thinking that each of our iPads had the digital plan that allowed us, without the Wi-Fi, to be able to use the phone.
I've tried it, and I cannot get it to work at my house.
Okay. We'll check on that.
What do we have, 3G or 4G? Does iPads have 3G or 4G on it?
We're paying a flat fee.
We do have a service plan that would cover normally your service without Wi-Fi. We do pay for that monthly, and we do have that service with your iPad. There are occasions, however, that you can be in a location where you have no service, not even service to be able to connect to a 3G or 4G.
Well, you-
And that might be your situation.
For those of us who live in the sticks, that could be the situation.
The board packet itself is available through your Dropbox, but we've also made it available through the website every month. So I can't email it because it's too large, but if you're able to get on the internet, you're still able to access the board packet.
Okay, but I'm not.
That's not good.
I don't know, I've enjoyed it. I don't do that at the house.
Do you have a cell phone?
I do have a cell phone.
What cellular service do you have? What plan?
T-Mobile.
T-Mobile?
Do you get service out there?
I do get service out there, sketchy at times. It would not be something that would last long enough or whatever for me to do this.
Well,
It just,
with the 3G and 4G, chances are you probably need to find the right location in your house. You know, because like your cell phone probably works in certain areas of the house and certain areas it doesn't work in.
well, I'm not willing to sit on the fireplace.
Well, I'm not suggesting that you do that. You know, I'm not suggesting that you do that.
My brother has that problem. The only time he can answer his in Morehead City is when he has it up against the kitchen window.
Oh, my
I
goodness.
don't think I could work that out.
I'm not sure about the AT&T, which we have our data plan with our Solid Waste Authority iPads. Verizon seems to have better coverage, and I don't know if that would be a possibility to somehow get a Verizon plan that would allow you, or honestly, you know, the Wi-Fi service is inexpensive overall. If that's something that we need to get for you at your house in order to give you access, I would propose we do that for you and anybody else that would give you this capability if we can go away from the hard copies and all, which, you know, we're in the recycling business, and we generate an awful lot of waste and all, and we're not even recycling the notebooks.
Yeah, let us get with Pam, Ms. Creech, and we'll see what the possibilities, what we have to do between Mike and.
Other thing we're gonna need to do is, we probably need to do just a board training on the use of the iPads, for the board members and whatnot, you know. So no fleet won't feel like he doesn't understand what he's doing.
Yeah.
Hopefully he knows he doesn't understand. Feel that way at all, it's guaranteed.
So we need to do a board training with the iPad, so that's something we need to go ahead and.
And it will be a challenge, I promise.
I think honestly, you know, once the tutorial takes place, I think everybody will see that it's much easier and will be more convenient for all of us. And I think, Mr. Long, we ought to move in that direction. So, yeah, if we can try to do that and see.
Yeah, we'll work for the next board meeting. I think everybody, we've got it set up, and I think it's working well, that we can happen if we can get everybody plugged in, so.
Good.
We'll know more about it next meeting.
Great point.
That sounds good, thank you.
Thank you. December board meeting date, we still on for the 12th? Was that? Yep,
Yeah.
so that's, we were just confirming that,
Right.
for,
We got to have a time.
oh, okay. That had not been set
No.
on the 12th?
Ooh, 12 was bad.
I will not be here on the 12th, that is the operation day, so.
Neither would I. I'll be out of the state that day.
I'll be out of the country.
You leaving altogether, huh?
That's right.
When are you leaving?
Sunday. And I'll be back on the 13th. So, but I can miss a meeting. It's not that big of a deal.
December may be difficult. I'm leaving on the 14th, so we might need to see when the majority of the board can meet.
You and I.
12th is fine with me, but I'm
We-
further.
Everybody else is leaving.
12's fine with me.
I actually had it on my calendar for the 12th at the same time,
Same
the
time, I did.
5:30. It's,
That's fine with me.
and Reverend Coakley's out,
Yeah.
Mr. Long is out, and Mr. Jones out, so there would only be 4 of us here.
But that's enough for a quorum.
We would have a quorum.
It'll be a short meeting. Merry Christmas.
Is there, are you Reverend Coakley, when are you leaving?
I leave that morning at 7 o'clock,
Of the
7
12th?
o'clock flight, yeah.
I know Mr. Long's leaving, but would the 11th on Wednesday work where, Mr. Jones, you've got the staff, would that be a better time? Or, I know we had said the 12th, and everybody had kind of penciled in that day. Would the 11th?
Do we have anything, are we anticipating anything? Usually that meeting's about a 20-minute Merry Christmas and have a sandwich.
Early, that's my church dinner was that night.
On the 11th?
You know, Baptists go to church on Wednesday night.
I mean, the 12th, if you have enough for a quorum, if you have 4, I would think that would be fine. I don't expect you to change it for me. I don't mind if you do, I'll be here, but I don't think it's a big deal.
We could have 4 of us here on the 12th. It's whatever the pleasure of the board and staff is. And at 5:30 on the 12th? Staff?
Problem.
And I
Esther?
think North Lee's right. I don't think we're gonna be here very long.
Right.
I don't think there's gonna be a whole lot said.
Is that, Esther, should we try to meet earlier? I mean, was the plan to try to get out?
Traditionally, the December meeting is a very short meeting. And it's been held a little earlier in the day just because there's so many who are making travel plans to leave town and this, that, and the other. But whatever time the board decides is what we'll do.
I got a meeting at 9.
Lunchtime?
I actually have a lunch meeting.
You got a lunch meeting?
But
2 o'clock, 3 o'clock?
We've done them as early as 10 in the morning and as late as 3 in the afternoon, or the regular 5:30.
The last one I chaired lasted 22 minutes. So,
how about 3 o'clock?
Works for me.
The other two members that can be here, 3 o'clock, okay?
That's
Staff, okay, 3 o'clock on the 12th?
Okay, Jan?
Perfect, all right.
All right.
We'll make that change.
Now, that means if there's only 4 of us, can't none of us back out.
Gotta be here on this one. I think we looked last year of just not having one, and they called the rule book on me and said the bylaw said you will have a meeting each month.
Oh, okay. Okay, so December the 12th at 3 o'clock for the members that can be here. Okay? That's set. Any items for the roundtable discussion?
I only have one request,
Preach.
please. Any of the contracts that are still ongoing, I'd like to have a copy of. What ReSouth has given you as a proposal, I'd like to have a copy of. And the contracts that we have, I'd like to have a copy of them to read before we sign. Thank you. Well, you said ReSouth had already made some kind of proposal.
Proposal, yeah.
Okay, but it's not in writing?
Yeah,
Okay,
but
I'd
it's
like-
not a contract.
Okay, I'd like to see it.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I'd like that too.
If you can just distribute that to all the board, that'd be great. Any other roundtable items? Any need for executive session? Any other business for the group, old or new? If not, we'll take a motion for adjournment.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you, everybody. See you here.